Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 219. Uh, Judging by its box office, I'm gonna assume that a good chunk of you have seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and you, like Heather and I, rejoiced in the post-credit scene. If you haven't, we're not gonna spoil for you here. But post-credit scenes seem to be all the rage these days. Sometimes more priority is given to those than the actual movie themselves. Isn't that right, Marvel? And some movies that we'll talk about today. But I'm genuinely surprised we haven't talked about this earlier. But we're going to talk about the best post-credit scenes of all time. Now, I put the caveat on of, at least for my list, it has to be like an actual scene. It can't be one of those like, here's the blooper reel that played during the post-credits, or here's this little clip that played alongside the credits. It's like you actually have to wait for either the mid-credits or the end credits. It's not just like some accompaniment. It's an actual dedicated scene. I got a lot of these. I got at least one on my list today that I begrudgingly put on the list just because I haven't had a mini rant in a while. But Josh, how you doing tonight?
I'm chilling like a villain, buddy. I bought a bunch of comics today.
I saw you got the Supergirl one.
Yes. Oh, okay. So what's really funny is, so I've been searching for a place that would sell the Radiant Black, comic volume 1. For those that don't know, it's fantastic. It's a crossover between like Invincible and Power Rangers. So obviously it's got me written all over it. But I turned a corner and I saw it right there on the shelf. I was like, oh, yay, cool. And then right below it was Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And I was like, hey, yo, yeah, okay, cool. I'll get that too. So, yeah, I'm excited to read them both because they both look gorgeous. And I mean, the fact that Woman of Tomorrow sold out like literally the next day after James Gunn was saying like, yeah, hey, man, we're going to make a Supergirl thing based off this. It gives me a lot of hope that the book is good. So I'm excited to read through it and see what happens in it. And because the art already is gorgeous, but yeah, I've been pretty chill these past couple of days. Honestly, I've got back into Animal Crossing. So that's been wasting my hours.
So that explains why Josh has been asking about that.
Yeah. For those that don't know, in new Animal Crossing's New Horizons, there's this point of the game where you get quote unquote permission to customize your island completely, like land wise. Have been at that point for a long time. I just never did anything with it, and now all of a sudden, for some reason, I was like, you know what? It's time to customize the island. So I did that a whole lot this week. Still stayed on the animation train. This week I watched Coco. Mostly because like there's a lot of songs from that movie that get stuck on my head often.
Really?
And it's a gorgeous movie. Yeah, dude. So, and because part of it I think is, the last almost decade of my life has been spent in kitchens in Houston. So like a lot of mariachi, a lot of like Spanish rap and stuff like that. So like there's just like I feel like an infinity with that culture, I think is the word I'm going to use there. It's something I connect with a little bit. So I love that movie. There's so many parts that are so questionable of why that is in a children's film. Main character is poisoned. So no, main character's dad is or grandfather. Yeah, grandfather is poisoned, so they can't get home. It is all kinds of crazy, but like it's super beautiful and super. The music is fantastic. The animation is fantastic. So I watched that. And I am finally. I've been doing a watch through of Adventure Time because it's something I've never seen before. I am just now getting into season 6. For those that of the uninitiated, the transition of story content from season 4 to season 5 was awesome. Nathan, I don't know how much you know about Adventure Time, but it's a really, really goofy show, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, so by the end of season 4, we're just having a great time, and then all of a sudden, the end of season 4, they're like, "Hey, by the way, there's this giant demon god that wants to destroy the world again. So we're going to go to the world between worlds that controls time and go deal with that. And then they do like a two-parter and then like end it on a cliffhanger in the middle of at the end of the season, and they follow through on into the season 5. So this is one of those like classic Cartoon Network bit where they go, "Hey, I know you're having fun, but now let's have existential crises." Yeah, this will be fun.
Is Adventure Time also that same show that like I'll see clips of that it shows? Is the dog? No, Jake is the one with the backpack.
Jake's the dog. Finn's
okay, so
human.
it is Jake is the dog. The Jake is just going. You want to do something scary? We go to bed early and be alone with our thoughts. And I'm going.
Yes.
As you know,
it's fantastic
having
show.
a couple existential crises this week. I'm just like, I feel called out here. Anything else for this past week?
Man, it's been pretty chill this week. Lots of games, lots of comics, lots of Adventure Time.
So, I took a couple days off work just because I have too much time on my hands to burn, and also just because we had a packed schedule. So, Thursday went to the theater and saw Return of the King, an extended edition, and I texted Josh like right before the movie started. I was just like, wow. This place knows its audience, apparently, because they literally the only thing they were advertising was the Lord of the Rings board game up and coming, Lord of the Rings themed D&D campaign, and Studio Ghibli movies. And I'm just going, I feel a very specific audience is this movie, and I'm just going, that makes sense. But it was great. I think I only went to the bathroom like 2 or 3 times. It is now officially the longest movie I've ever seen in a theater because it's the extended cuts. Still great, but I was like 1 row too close, I think. So I was like, well, it was great. I'm like, okay. Like even Josh has been to the theater. It's the one at City Walk, and they're like, it's a great theater, but even when you're closer, like you can still recline your seat back, but there's still a level of too closeness, I think.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
So got that. I mainly wanted to take days off just because I figured I needed some recovery time because Heather and I went to see Shinedown, who was here at the Amway Center on Saturday. The Shinedown part of it was the best concert I have ever seen. The problem is there's 2 other bands. The first is a band called From Ashes to New. They clearly had like a young upstart rock energy. Like but they were fine, but my problem with them was, 1, wasn't familiar with them, so I didn't know any of their songs. 2, their audio mix was god-awful. Like, I could hear the drums, and that was about it. Like, every other word, maybe. And it's not just me being a grumpy old man. It's like, your audio mix is genuinely bad. And then you get 3 Days Grace. So, as someone that listened to some 3 Days Grace songs back in junior high and high school, and I've been to my fair share of concerts, but I've never been to a concert where the performer is clearly there for a paycheck. Like, 50% effort the entire set. Like, I get that you're not the headliner, but man, you are not enthusiastic whatsoever. But the Shinedown part of it, fantastic.
You're telling me you've never been to Coachella with Frank Ocean? Come on, man.
Dude, I want our listeners at home to know, I will never, ever go to Coachella because the words Coachella or music festival just triggers that like introvert anxiety within me of just going, too many people, place I don't know, large crowds, it all smell a little weird. No, thank you. That just sounds like the worst thing in the world. Like Heather and I for our concert didn't plan it this way, but we had the best seats in the world of like we were up against a wall on the basically ground level on the back row right by an exit in the aisleway. So I'm just going, oh.
You guys are happy.
I was like, oh, I got a little bit of leg room here. Now, if only the people in the seats next to us didn't have to get up and go to the bathroom or take a hit every 20 minutes. Like, guys.
Love it.
Stop it. Just stay in your seat. No one else in our row has this problem except for you guys. Then the only thing I really was watching, I haven't watched any movies lately, but I'll probably catch up on that this week. I've been on Paramount and I've been watching The Offer, which I don't know how accurate this is, but it's supposed to be the adaptation of the making of The Godfather, like starring Miles Teller as Al Ruddy, the producer of the movie, Dan Fogler, also known as, I believe the character's name was Jacob in Fantastic Beasts, the Muggle, the only people.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
the Muggle, the only good character in the Fantastic Beasts movies. He plays Francis Ford Coppola. And I'll say this. I don't know how accurate it is to the real events, and I don't care. I'm treating this as like it's a fantasy show, something the critics clearly couldn't do, because I looked up the Rotten Tomatoes and good lord, the critics hated this show, but the audiences love it. I like it a lot. I'm enjoying it as a show, but this show is single-handedly turning me around to Miles Teller as an actor. I've not like disliked him, but he's definitely been on my list of just like, you're kind of whatever. But couple this with Top Gun Maverick, he's actually really, really good. And maybe it's just because he's actually playing a character his age this time around. Like, he's actually acting like a grown man that's taking care of grown man things. So it's interesting seeing a movie producer try and solve this problem or solve this problem. Just like, again, I don't know how accurate this thing is, but I like problem-solving movies, like a Moneyball type of situation of like, here's your lot, make this situation work. Like Francis Ford Coppola is insisting, we have to shoot this scene in Sicily. They've got no money left, so like, where can we clip some things from the budget to find $28,000 to go film in Sicily type of thing like that? That's interesting to me. Again, I don't care how accurate it is. And I'm also saying this as someone that's only seen the first Godfather once. I need to see all three of them, like, as an older adult now, to see if it's actually worth the hype. But I've got 2 episodes left. Really like it. Mando should be out by the time you guys are listening to this.
Let's go.
And like I said, because I had some days off, I was determined I was going to get some stuff done. This was one of them. And the other thing, I finally sat down, hashed it all out, got it all ironed out. Pitching a Nightwing movie Part 2's script is finally done, like word for word. I was going to record it this weekend, but I didn't know how my voice would be after the Shinedown concert. So I think sometime this weekend, when I know for a fact it's like back to normal and I can dedicate a good couple hours to making sure I get all the right takes and whatnot, it'll be recorded, then it'll be in the editing process. So that's a big, making the script be finished finally. It was like the biggest step in that direction, because the editing, that could be whatever. For some reason, it's easier for me to just lock myself in my room and just plug away for a couple hours at a time editing, as opposed to writing. That's like, get out of my head. I don't know. It's just easier for me that way. But so yeah, that's where that stands now. So Nightwing is finally crossed its biggest hurdle yet. It's all written out. It just needs to be recorded, and it'll be edited. So just as a tease, we'll do some tease here. Josh, do you have one single question about the project that you want people to have answered here? Go one question. Or something you're curious about.
Well, because I think you've kept it very under wraps, even to me. So which I'm excited about, and it's been so long since I've seen the first one. I am
putting a recap in the video. I am putting a recap video.
Cool. Yeah, because that's going to be a big thing. I think even for me that I might go back and rewatch it just to, because I'm excited. I've been waiting for the second part, because I know for a long time, even for you weren't sure how to get to the next second or even third part of the story.
And that's the thing, is I kept thinking part 3 before part 2, and it's evolved so much. So I will say this: my original arc for it would be for the third one to end like a battle for the cowl situation of him becoming Batman by the end of the trilogy. That was scrapped about a couple months after I started really putting my work into it. So that is not the direction it's going now. And I like where it's going a lot better. And it's, I think, more streamlined. So this one is connected to the first one, but it's not dependent on the first one. There's certain thematic elements that continue from the first one, but it's not like, I kept thinking when I was originally working on the ideas of just like, all right, they need to build on each other, and that doesn't need to be the case. They can have through lines, but not be required viewing type of thing.
Yeah, which is, I think, something that you and I have always harped on Marvel for, even especially these days, is like, I don't want to have required viewing to see your stuff. So, but
So
yeah,
yeah,
dude, I'm pretty excited about
do
it.
you have a question or just something you think the audience might want to know?
That was kind of it. Like, as far as just am I going to have to go watch the first one? Are you going to do a recap? Because at this point, you and I have talked so much about ideas that we might have for fun Batman stories. It's hard for me. They all blend together, so I can't remember what we've talked about in a context of not of Nightwing. In the context of Batman stories in general. Bat Out of the Cow is obviously yeah, that's one of your favorites when it comes to Nightwings. Do you feel? Let's go this way. Do you feel that you're going to be taking that you took any inspiration from the animated movie Bad Blood? Because there's a
No.
lot of Nightwing Batman stuff in that.
If there's anything I took from Bad Blood, it is the emotional disconnect between Nightwing and Batman.
Fair enough.
I
Which
think
is not
that's
shown
about
a lot
it.
of-
That's
yeah.
about it from what I took from Batman Bad Blood. I'll say two things and we'll move on to news topics. The first script was about 8 or 9 pages for the first one, for the first video. This is 18 pages.
Attaboy.
Like,
Attaboy.
this is much more planned out process. It's also a much darker story, as I think all sequels should be.
Agreed.
What was the other thing I was going to say? I forget. Oh, in terms of biggest inspirations, I will say it's Karate Kid Part 3 and leave it at that.
So my least favorite Karate Kid. Love it. K.
I think Karate Kid Part 3 is not a great movie, but it gets some interesting concepts right, I think, that you don't see a lot in other movies.
I mean, that's fair. The second one does the same thing, where like there's some interesting parts, but the movie as a whole is not interesting.
With all that being said, let's get into the news for this week, because we don't have a lot of movie news, but what we do have is very dense movie news, by and large. So first up, James Gunn on Superman's birthday / anniversary, one of the big Superman days. It's now 85 years of the Man of Steel. He has announced that his Superman Legacy, is now deep in pre-production, to which I'm just going, I feel like it's been deep in pre-production for a while. You just felt like deciding today because it's like a Superman day to announce it, but whatever boat you float there, James Gunn. And naturally, if James Gunn breathes, it creates a Twitter firestorm of, I saw something about like him posting a picture of him and the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy in Nathan Fillion shirts, and Snyder cultists were just like, how dare you post a tweet about a shirt the same day Zack Snyder posted a tweet about a shirt, and I'm just going, are you kidding me? Really? But I feel like we haven't talked about this in a little bit, just because they've been radio silent on this. James Gunn has talked about that now that they're deep in pre-production, they've got like, they were already working on like costume designs and production stuff, probably storyboards and whatnot. I firmly believe that they have some casting done. Not any of the major casting, the one in particular, but I wouldn't be surprised if they have their eyes on certain people for like Lois or Perry White, because if we're doing a young Superman who's just starting out on Daily Planet, we need a Perry White. We will probably get a Jimmy Olsen this time around that is, alive the entire time.
Yeah, actually Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah. And I mentioned this in my Smallville series review. You should all check that out because it's fantastic. There's something that I've wanted from a Superman movie for a while, but I just don't know if they would ever actually do, and that is Pa Kent being alive long enough to see his son be Superman, at least for a little bit. Like, I get that in the Christopher Reeve one and in the Zack Snyder one, he died, and also Smallville, he died and that taught his son a lesson that you can't save everyone. But in other incarnations, like Superman Man of Tomorrow, and multiple times in the comics, Jonathan is alive long enough to see Clark be Superman for a couple years. And, like, Smallville, the Kent farm is like his other fortress of solitude. Like, when he needs advice, go talk to your parents like an adult. Like any other struggling 20 or 30 somethings, just go, hey, I broke something. How do I fix it? Like, too relatable. Um, I wouldn't be surprised. I know they said that they're not going to start filming anything till the beginning of 2024. I'm fully expecting in the next couple months to see some casting announcements. So we haven't talked about casting very much for this project, but Superman aside, what do you think of some casting choices that could make you even more excited for this? What do you think about this officially being in pre-production? Thoughts on Superman Legacy, Josh?
I yeah, I'm excited just because it's James Gunn. He's obviously done the script. It's there's definitely like they've got to be way farther along than they're letting on. But as far as casting, I think you hold off Lois just a little bit before you announce Superman, and then I guess you can do like Perry White and Jimmy Olsen. To me, Perry and Jimmy aren't that big of a deal as long as the characters are like around. I know this won't happen, but I would love Lawrence Fishburne to come back as Perry. I loved his Perry White.
Yeah, same.
And to be fair, and I feel bad because I don't remember his name, but the guy that they got to play Jimmy Olsen,
Oh yeah, that guy from Zoom.
for all 10 minutes. Yeah, I would love for him to give him a good crack at it because he does have that kind of look of Jimmy Olsen.
I do want Jimmy to be younger than Superman though. And that's
I kind of have that like look that older brother kind of feel connection between them. Fine if that's the case. Maybe not Finn Wolfhard, but one of the Stranger Things kids could be fun. I don't know. Maybe. Oh my gosh. The kid that plays Dustin.
Yes.
He played Jimmy Olsen.
Don't.
Okay.
He's even already got the lisp and everything.
It'd be so good. It'd be so much fun.
Honestly, any of the Stranger Things kids. Maybe not Finn Wolfhard because he's actually aged.
Yeah, all that too.
But if you wanted to mix things up, go with what is his name? Caleb McLaughlin. Who is his basketball player? Lucas.
Oh gosh, dude, I should be way more
Lucas.
unfamiliar. Yeah, his Lucas. Yeah. Lucas would be fun. I'd like that. That could be a lot of fun. I think because if we're going to Daily Planet, to me, I don't think Lex Luthor is your main bad yet.
Not yet. No.
I think you're doing someone that's a
Parasite.
Parasite or oh gee. Oh no, I was gonna say whatever.
Lobo.
I forgot the name of that guy that was like he's got a heart of kryptonite, but that might be a little too early for him. Yeah, Metallo might be a little early for that. Way too early for Bizarro. I really don't want to retread Zod right off the bat. So I'm trying to think of who that leaves. I mean,
Mr. Mixel-Pitalik.
I kind of almost want. I kind of want somebody. Oh, what's the He's got that villain that can create like he affects the weather.
Weather Wizard.
Geez. Yeah, let's go Weather Wizard. Give him somebody who can like affect multiple places at once, and so he has to like do the process of elimination and be like, okay, how like actually think through the problem, not just like I'll punch it as hard as I can kind of situation. You know what I mean?
So I haven't really thought too much about the casters. I've seen plenty of like Superman fan castings and whatnot, except for one that I can't get out of my head of just going, oh dear God, this would be genuinely perfect casting. For his father, for Jonathan Kent, I really, really want it to be Dennis Quaid. Because...
Yes. Gosh, I love Quaid. I love that man.
Clarify. Dennis, not Randy. Dennis.
Yeah, fair.
Dennis Quaid would adopt his alien son. Randy would fully believe that he is the alien son.
Yeah.
Randy's bonkers. But no, Dennis Quaid, I feel like Jonathan Kent needs to have that like old school Norman Rockwell Americana. As much as I don't like a lot of Zack Snyder's like directing choices, full props to his casting department. He cast perfectly for all the DC movies, and I think casting Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent was a brilliant move. Do I always agree with the portrayal of Jonathan Kent?
Fair.
Yeah, it's okay to kill children. No, I don't agree with that choices. But casting wise, perfect. So you got big shoes to fill for that. But also, yes, it's been memed to death, but Martha is an important character to also get right. So I think Diane Lane was great in Batman vs. Superman and Man of Steel. So finding someone warm, maybe it's just because I think of Amazing Spider-Man, but Sally Field.
Yeah, dude, I was insane. Like, if we're doing Dennis Quaid, yes, Dennis and Sally would be perfect. I love it. I it's so great because
Or Tom Hanks.
Dennis is in that movie, The Rookie, and instantly I'm thinking like that version of Dennis who's like in the cornfields throwing baseball and stuff like that. Like that. Oh, that would be great. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. I just love Sally, so I would love to see more of her. I'm trying to think of who else though, but yeah, Sally Fields would be fantastic for Martha. I have no issues with that.
I know this is a popular fan cast, and she even voiced the character in Superman Man of Tomorrow, but Alexandra Daddario as Lois Lane, I would be very much okay with.
I think Lois is tricky. Lois is very, very, very tricky because she does have to fulfill so many check marks as a character. She can be exposition. She has to be the how do we say that? She has to be the damsel in distress that, and like I get, but that's not a damsel in distress in that she is not a damsel. She's always a damsel against her will kind of situation where like people, Superman villains know that, if you want to get to Superman, go after Lois for some reason. But then she's also got to be like a competent reporter and a competent, like interesting person. She's not just fodder, she's not a side character necessarily. She might as well be like a second main character if we're being honest. Yeah, Daddario would be good. I think maybe if we want to switch things up.
Depends on what age we're looking at here.
Yeah, that's the other big thing is because they also have to be the love interest of Superman, and it has to not be creepy. It has to not be weird. So I think Lois will be hard to cast until we cast Superman, obviously.
Yeah.
I think whoever James picks, I will be stoked about. And that's not me saying that as James, like a James Gunn apologist or anything like that. I just think that James has such a vision right now for this script that anybody that he's picked, he's thoroughly thought through and has vetted a ton of people, whether it be big name, small name, whatever. I wouldn't be surprised. I think I'm going to be pretty okay with whoever he picks.
Yeah. I think for Superman, he's going to go with somebody like we're not expecting at all.
Agreed.
Like somebody completely out of left field, because that's kind of the legacy of Superman. Like Christopher Reeve was nobody. Henry Cavill was the forever bridesmaid, but never a bride. Even Tyler Hoechlin on Superman and Lois, like he had Teen Wolf before that, but he wasn't like the biggest name in the world. I think Seventh Heaven too. For me, and this is just will be my process, whoever they end up casting, my first instinct will be to see them in interviews, not movie performances, but interviews, because I think Superman as a character, it's going to sound weird to say, but it can't be an act. It has to emanate from who you are as a person. Christopher Reeve was a phenomenal person on and off the camera, always helping people, always just explaining in interviews, Superman's a friend. He's there. He's compassionate. He's this, that, or the other thing. Henry Cavill, I know he doesn't have as good of a reputation as he has now. I still firmly believe that in all the interviews, that deep down, he's a good person. He's a good ambassador for the brand. He understands as Superman, kids will always see me as Superman, and I take that very, very seriously. That's always one of the main reasons I loved him as Henry Cavill, as Superman, is because he understood the responsibility that came with the role. We hear nothing but nice things about him. Same with Tyler Hoechlin. Supposedly he's one of the nicest guys in the world, and you see him in interviews and whatnot. He's polite. He's respectful. That's kind of what I look for in an actor, of just like, I don't want an actor that's got like a bad boy reputation or like he's known for this, that, or the other thing. Because
so what
I
you're saying,
know
so what
Robert
you're
Downey
saying is
Jr.
Ezra Miller is off the table.
He should be off the table just in general. But like,
Yeah.
but Superman at his core is a kind person, and I think whoever plays them needs to be a kind person, and that's why I think it's somebody we probably have never seen before. It's this big undertaking. I do not envy whoever they end up casting because you're gonna get the inevitable Ben Affleck Batman or Michael Keaton Batman situation if you get a whole bunch of people immediately comparing him to Henry Cavill. You get a people immediately comparing him to Christopher Reeve. I'm like, no matter who gets cast as Superman, I wouldn't be surprised if they announced at a Comic-Con this year of who the Superman is.
That's a good venue for it.
I think whoever it is, y'all relax and actually see how it is, because it happens with every major superhero casting. Ben Affleck is Batman. That's the worst casting choice of all time. Now, those exact same people, why aren't they bringing Ben Affleck's Batman back? He was perfect. Like, I don't get the people that are the most vocal in defending one thing are the ones that are always so vocal against said thing when it's first announced. It's people don't like change until the change comes and you find out it's for the better. Oh, wow, Robert Pattinson's Batman was actually good. I loved that casting choice from day one. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Shut up. The amount of memes that were like, "Oh, we got the guy from Twilight." Okay, sure, whatever. Like, shut up. Yeah. I'm excited. It'll be great to actually have a. It'll be great to have like a Superman movie. Honestly,
It just sounds so weird because the last one came out 10 years ago.
which is wild.
Next up, we have our first official casting announcements of the new James Gunn DC universe. And I kind of love that it was for an animated series first. But again, James Gunn has reiterated any character that's voicing someone will also show up as them in live action form when it is required. So we have more or less the entire cast for the upcoming series Creature Commandos, which even diehard comic book fans are just going, I'm going to pretend I know what this is because I have a reputation. Josh and I don't care. We have no reputation. I have no idea who the Creature Commandos were before it got announced. But looking at the roster, I'm going, this sounds like it's for me. We've got a Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster, whatever one Josh wants to be pedantic about this week. You get a Bride of Frankenstein. You get
his name is Eric Frankenstein.
Eric Frankenstein.
This is so great.
Weasel Senior, I'm pretty sure. It's a whole eclectic cast. But looking at this cast, I'm going, oh, James Gunn has been let in the kitchen because this man is cooking, and he's cooking up. Although, to be fair, one of them was completely spoiled a few days before it got dropped because Frank Grillo is a grumpy old man who doesn't know when to shut his mouth. Frank Grillo, known for Warrior, I believe he was in The Gray. He's been in a whole bunch of different action movies.
Yeah.
He's going to be the lead. He's going to be voicing Rick Flag Sr. and going,
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's just like, I left Marvel because I was Crossbones and they really didn't want to do anything with my character, to which I wholeheartedly agree. I always thought Crossbones was super cool, even though they completely wasted him. They really did nothing with Crossbones, which sucks. Because, honestly, Crossbones would be a great villain for Sam Wilson's Captain America now. I think those would be very evenly matched. But
agree.
no, we have to blow him up to be the catalyst for Civil War. Then you also have...
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I won't go on a Civil War rant.
We'll talk about Civil War later, though.
Yeah.
We also have Maria Bakalova as Ilan Rostovic? Okay.
That's got to be the one with the bubble on their head, I think.
Oh, the one that looks like Abe Sapien from Hellboy?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Maybe.
Just like looking at the picture that I'm trying to, because obviously the bride.
Which one's the bride?
Which one's that?
Then we also have Game of Thrones and Obi-Wan actress Indira Varma as the bride. Cool. She was fine in Obi-Wan. I just don't think the show gave a lot of actors the material that they could have really used to their benefit. She was great in Game of Thrones, though. Zoe Chow as Nina Mazurki? I'm terrible with pronunciations. Although I can name this one. Alan Tudyk! Heck yes! You just put Alan Tudyk in anything, and I am there. Y'all, Alan Tudyk is in a lot more than you think he is. He's in Josh's all-time favorite TV show, Firefly. He gets murdered. Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal. He's going to be playing Dr. Phosphorus. I don't know the character at all, but that is the coolest / most Bible manish name ever. Dr. Phosphorus. But again, you have Frank Grillo and Alan Tudyk in the same project together. I am there because Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is one of the best horror comedies of all time. But then the real hook. David Harbour as a big, lumbering, scary man with different colored skin. He's returning as Hellboy. No, he's going to be playing Eric Frankenstein, and he's going to do much better this time around than Hellboy. But I'm going, oh yeah.
Yeah, that works for me on a lot of levels.
I know some people were thinking, oh, but Ron Perlman was up for it, and James Gunn's like, no, he wasn't. I love Ron Perlman, but no, he was never in consideration for this. So I'm excited to see him both voice it, but also see him as Frankenstein. And lastly, because it's a James Gunn movie, Sean Gunn has to be in here somewhere, so he's going to be pulling double duty as he's going to be G.I. Robot and Weasel Sr., because he was Weasel in the last one. Did anyone check to see if Weasel could swim? Still the hardest I've laughed in
one of my
years.
favorite bits, yeah.
What stands out to you, Josh?
Obviously, Alan Tudyk, love him in pretty much everything he's in. Frank Grillo, super excited. David Harbour as Eric Frankenstein, just that is so like, that is such casting. Honestly, I love that this is a animated show. I love that this is something that is not necessarily well known. Typical James Gunn project, basically. But I'm excited that like all these people, we're going to see all these people as these people in live action if they ever come to live action, which is that's so cool. I like that so much. I will say, and I kind of want to bring this up to you because I don't know if you and I have ever had this discussion, at least on the podcast. I do remember seeing a little backlash to it's James Gunn, but to the comment that if you play them in animation, we would like you to play them in live action. I saw some backlash to that from voice actors. I don't know how I feel about it from that perspective.
Same.
Because there's a lot, to me, I love the idea of a voice actor getting more than just voice work. But then again, that might be not something that they want to do. So
True. Look at Ashley Eckstein for Ahsoka.
Yeah, exactly. So it's we'll see, I guess. I really hope that this brings some people that have been trying to get into that live action, genre, but have only been relegated to voice work. You could probably rattle off some names there. But like, I just don't know how I feel about. While it makes me excited because of stuff like David Harbour as Eric Frankenstein and Frank Grillo being somebody like knowing that, okay, cool. So if you voice those people, we're going to see those people and you as that person. But I worry that because I just never want voice actors to be out of work because it's such a cannibalized industry already. I am a little worried, but I don't know. You and I have never discussed that on the pod, so I did want to bring that up a little bit.
I'm kind of with you in the same way of just like, I do want voice actors to get more respect and recognition, and I understand where they're coming from. My thought is usually animated projects are only ever intended as animated projects, so I think it's interesting planning them to be animated stuff, live action appearances if they're doing video games. So I get it from that perspective because you could have like an Ashley Eckstein who voiced Ahsoka for many years and express not really having an interest in doing a live action version of Ahsoka. Totally understand that. Or you could have someone like a Laura Bailey who voiced why am I blanking on the character's name? The one that no one likes from Last of Us 2. She doesn't look like that character, but she does a great job voice performing as that character.
Mm-hmm.
So I think expressly conveying that this will be across different mediums, I think kind of has a different impact to me of like, okay, they're clearly planning something different. What I'm
Mm-hmm.
also hoping, and maybe it's just me being naive, is because they're putting celebrities in this, quote unquote celebrities, not like top tier people, but more recognizable names than voice actors, that what James Gunn might be doing is trying to get more eyeballs on the art of animation itself, because then you're just like, okay, by proxy,
Yeah.
let's expand this out type of thing. If they wanted to cast some voice actors and then also have them in live action, totally cool. I'd be super down with that as well. But yeah, I'm also kind of conflicted because I get it, but at the same time, it is tough for voice actors. But yeah, it's usually animated stuff is intended for animation only. If you're a good enough voice actor, you can really slip into any role. You're more versatile in that way. But this, they're going for a very specific thing, and I don't think that's a
Yeah.
bad thing. If anything, it could be more foresight than, again, we don't want to compare the two, but Marvel, one of the big issues I had with Marvel's What If is only getting like half of the original cast back.
Yeah.
So when you're listening to it, yeah, like Ant-Man's accurate, Hawkeye's accurate, but then you get some glaring differences that you're just like, oh, that's not quite right. So having more uniformity could be a really good thing. So I think
Mhm.
that's kind of where I land on it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where I land too. Um, because then we would get into this really big messy discussion about like, okay, cool. So how is this situation any different from like how they cast Pixar movies or how they cast, any other animation project? Um, which to the voice actors credits, like that's also an issue that they only go for celebrity voices these days, and that's not, for better or for worse. So we'll find out. I'm excited about this casting. I'm excited about the show just because it's so different, and I love me some different. So but yeah, let's give it to me, James Gunn. Wait.
Not your weirdest
Wait.
slip up.
Yeah, anyway.
Well, if you want to see Creature Commandos, you're going to have to watch them on the new Max app, which is
Sorry. I
somehow worse
just
than Peacock.
my
Um,
goodness.
Max is the new HBO Max and Warner Brothers Discovery, like Discovery Plus merged mega app. And here's the part of the show where I bust out some hot takes. But the hot take I have is not related to the name. The name is god awful. It is really bad. Like Peacock is up there, but Max is worse. Max is pretty awful. It should have been like Warner Plus or Discover Movies. Ooh.
Discovery Max even is better
Discovery
than
Max
that.
is better.
Ugh.
But I see a lot of people upset, and understandably so, about them dropping the HBO name of going from HBO to HBO Go to HBO Now to HBO Max. And people are upset that they're just like, it has decades of prestige and top quality programming going. You do, from a television perspective. I completely understand the name brand of HBO being a selling point. However, here's where the hot takes come in. I think it was a smart move to drop the HBO branding.
Yeah, no,
And
I'll give
here's
them that.
why. People that have HBO are already familiar with this, and they already have the service. They're trying to catch up with Hulu, with Disney Plus, with Netflix. And the best way to do that is to convey that this is everything. I know a lot of people that still, when HBO Max launched, just thought it was a different version of HBO, which, to be fair, when
Yeah.
it first launched, it was just
It
an alternate
was.
version of HBO. But it has such a great library that people might just think it's another version of HBO, but in reality, it's the Warner's library. It's going to be the Discovery library. But the biggest thing that I think a lot of people are overlooking because they love the HBO content, and I do too for the most part. Last of Us was fantastic. Game of Thrones can be good. The people watching HBO, by and large, are adults.
Mm-hmm.
HBO, with this merger with Discovery, is trying to reach everyone. And for better or for worse, because of its prestige, adult oriented content, the name HBO was always going to alienate a certain fan base, rightly or wrongly. When HBO Max first launched, I was telling my parents, "This thing's on it. This thing's on it. It's great." And they're just like, "But it's HBO. Isn't that like adult content?" I'm like, "No, they have
Yes.
other
Oh,
stuff."
yes.
But like HBO and Skinamax is always known for like the more adult content. But you're
Yes.
just like they have all the Scooby Doo stuff, the children's animated stuff. I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember if they still do or not. They had like Sesame Street. They have all this family content, but to me, that's always been like one of their big glaring weaknesses. Is their kids section was always a little weak compared to Disney Plus or even Netflix. Netflix has a pretty good kids department. Both
It
Netflix and
does.
Disney Plus have a more robust library, and up until this point, HBO has really been targeting that like 25 to 45-year-old demographic of either um, young married couples or like this is what you watch when you put your kids to bed. HBO and Warner Bros. Discovery are trying to reach a broader audience, and I know dropping the HBO name is going to piss some people off, but I understand their reasoning for doing it. You need to make it broader
Mhm.
because you need to reach more people. That was the thing is you mishandled the launch, and we'll talk about what this new app and everything entails, but I think they did need to rebrand it. Is Max a good name? Heck
No.
no.
No, it's not.
Max is a terrible name. But I understand and I agree with the decision to drop the HBO part of it. It was
Yes.
prestige television that's still well known for Emmy Award winning content, but not always for family oriented content. And they needed to express that there were just more than the Sopranos type.
Yeah. Which is because, like, for those that don't know, most of the Studio Ghibli library is on HBO Max. There is a ton of OG Adult Swim and Cartoon Network content on there. There's a lot of stuff on there, and I think dropping the HBO absolutely gives people the opportunity to be like, oh, okay, so maybe this isn't just HBO. Maybe there is some other stuff on there. Hate that name. I hate the name Max. There were so many other cooler options. Discovery Max, Discovering Movies, like Warner Plus. Even though Warner Plus feels like a cop out, um, all that is better than Max. I can see I can see the marketing though. Take your streaming to the max. Like,
Oh, I hate it because I can
I
see it
hate it,
too.
and it would work so well, but I hate it because of that. Let's get into though kind of the other stuff they announced along with the app. The Well, we've kind of already talked about the Harry Potter show that they have announced, that they also announced along with this app. I'm gonna dig my heels in. I think it's a bad decision. I think it's a stupid decision. I think I've seen a lot of rumors that they are using this as an opportunity to quote unquote force Emma Watson and not Harry, gosh, dude, Daniel Radcliffe and
He's
Rupert to
done
bring them all
other
back for
things,
something.
gosh dang
Uh,
it.
yeah, I know, and I'm one of those guys that's like Daniel Radcliffe, like apologist, like yes, like he's done so much good stuff. Um, I've seen those rumors. I don't think they're true, but that I would also not be surprised. I hate the idea of a Harry Potter show. Yes, it's been close to over a decade since the movies. Um, I don't care. I think now that I've read the books and seen the movies, I honestly the movies do a darn good job of adapting all of the content that is in the books. Because for as much as I love you book nerds, because I am one of you, you or me, we are the same. Um, Not everything that you read in a book translates well to a script to a screen. It's why like the first season of the Wheel of Time on Amazon does it drags hardcore, and it's not good because the to go from a word to word adaptation, it the pacing's off, the visuals are off, it does not work. I will always dig my heels in. I think a Harry Potter show based on the books is a bad idea. Um, I am open to doing other shows like in the Harry Potter world. I'm open to doing a I don't maybe an actual modern Harry Potter movie, but they won't because the lore doesn't work. Anyway, that's a whole nother bag of worms. But yeah, I just don't I don't know about you, but I don't care for a Harry Potter reboot.
Yeah, it's too soon. Like if we're talking about Moana being too soon, it's too soon for Harry Potter as well. Um, I we'll talk about the Penguin thing last year because they also dropped a teaser for the upcoming The Penguin series, which will also be in the Matt
Yeah.
Reeves universe. I want to talk briefly about the app itself. I applaud Warner Bros. Discovery. Again, we're apologized for it, more or less. I think what the company is doing is they're making the hard choices that needed to be done for this long-term health of the company. Um, but I also will openly acknowledge that I appreciate when they say, "Oh yeah, we done goofed. We screwed some stuff up." They openly acknowledge that we launched it at not its best because when HBO Max launched, it was a garbage app. Like it had a decent like aesthetic for a user interface, but it
Mhm.
was so slow. A lot of the features that they promised weren't there. Like I remember they were like, we're gonna have like a celebrities pick section of like this is what Zac Efron's playlist looks like, or this is what Zendaya's playlist looks like of what they're currently watching that you can also watch on HBO Max. That feature was never really there. Um, 4K was always an afterthought to them, which I was just like, you are
Mhm.
so far behind in that. I get the HBO as a system and like HBO Go and Now and whatnot. We're always like limited to HD, so they very slowly introduce 4K titles, but never to the level that they really should have. But Warner Brothers Discovery was very open with that. Of like, yeah, we launched with not a great app, and we've been trying to improve it ever since. But I feel like HBO Max, the big thing holding it back is the quality of the app itself, which is
Mhm.
why we've gotten some updates, but I feel like they've never fully committed to updating the app because they've got this other big thing coming next month. They said it's coming like May 23rd. So if you already have HBO Max, I believe it's just going to roll over. It's like $10 for ad free, $15 for limited ads, and $20 for no ads. And 4K. So I'm going straight to the $20, and I know some people are like it's so expensive. That's Netflix with 4K, but also like you're getting Discovery with HBO
Mhm.
Max, and given that my family already has both of those, and to combine their $20, it's not really that different. Like it's just gonna be one
Mhm.
bill as opposed to two separate bills. Um, I'm very curious to see. They didn't. I don't think they actually showed what the UI for this will look like. Like I think Disney Plus and Netflix are the two standouts for like user interfaces for streaming services. Um,
Yeah.
Paramount's is pretty good. I liked
Yeah.
Paramount's. The
I do too.
worst though, everyone I've seen is in agreement. Amazon's is the worst.
Oh yeah.
Amazon is the god awful worst streaming service in terms of just functionality. In terms of content, not bad. It could definitely improve, but it's a terrible function. And HBO Max has gotten better, but I think there's a lot of room for growth and improvement. And I'm hoping this relaunch is what we've been waiting for because, like I said, we've gotten some updates on the app itself for HBO Max, but I'm really hoping for they've been holding back for this new app. I hope is what the case is.
No, I agree. I what's interesting too is that I think now thinking about it, I use HBO Max more than most of my other services, just because more of what I want to watch is on HBO Max. Um, I'm going to say this now though, I do not like the Netflix interface. Maybe it's in my
Really?
settings or something like that, but I hate the autoplay feature.
I
I
do hate
hate
that. I
I
do hate
hate
that.
that like I can't just silently go from thing to thing. It's got to play me a trailer. It's got to play me a scene or something. Like I appreciate it and I understand why it's there, but I hate that it automatically does that. And now, I can probably hear some people in the comments being like, "Yo, just change your settings." Like I hear you. But I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to go to my settings to turn off an annoying feature. But yeah, I also am pretty excited about like the potential of what we could be looking at a new HBO Max, especially with Discovery. As someone who has never had the Discovery app, but loves nature documentaries. I am excited
And
to
Guy
see
Fieri.
that whole section. Let's go, Guy. Like, dude, you're telling me I can get every season of Guy Fieri, the Triple D? Like, come on. I'm here for it. Absolutely. Yeah, it should be fun. Regardless, we'll see what happens. That penguin trailer, I know you and I said a little bit, but that penguin trailer cracked me up because it was like, for something that is just in production, you sure have a lot of finished footage.
Yeah, let's talk about that briefly. It looks even better than I was expecting. Like after The Batman, I was like, I'm pretty hyped for this show. It looks pretty good, but it looks so good. Like it looks like a Sopranos level quality, but it still looks very much like it fits in the Batman universe, but just without Batman, and that's actually a good thing. Just flesh out this world more. I was about to say, are we going to see Carmine Falcone? But then I remember, he dies in the Batman. That's the whole catalyst of the story. Maybe we get other people. Maybe like a Tony Zuko. If we get Tony Zuko, because of potential connections that could create down the road for other characters to show up, I would love that. There's plenty of monsters to pick from. You know who could be fun? But it would really be going for the crazier side of things. Ventriloquist.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. I was gonna say Zaz. I was like, let's give me some Zaz.
Gotham did Zaz, and it wasn't too bad. Not the greatest though. But ventriloquist of like maybe have like a dude that's got some weird mental disorder that he has to talk through a puppet, so to speak. I'm very curious to see how Matt Reeves would approach ventriloquist. He's not like top tier character, but I don't know why. But in terms of this like crime drama, that could be interesting. Of like you could have some up and comer guy that's just like, he's a puppet. I'm not listening to a puppet, and then you just see him get mowed down by the puppet, while the guy controlling him is just completely stoic and like completely comatose. I think that could be interesting. Just spitballing here.
That'd be
Matt
wild.
Reeves.
It really would be. Yeah. Yeah, Clayface, whatever.
We know
that's gonna be a thing, guys. But I think ventriloquist could be fun. I want to say, I don't think this is his name, but the Tinkerer, the guy that creates all the
Spider-Man.
There's that's Spider-Man. But there's the guy in the Batman Rogues that's like, he creates like dolls and stuff like that. Is it the doll maker or
that's doll maker somebody. I think Professor Pig.
Yes. Can we just also like shout out to Colin for like making a Waddle look intimidating? Screw you, dude. That's not fair. You don't get to be that talented. Save some for the rest of us, man. He looks great in this. Everything looks. It just looks like Matt Reeves did it. Like it genuinely does.
And he's directing the pilot, if I remember right.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm down for that. Let's go.
Before we get into our main discussion, this week's episode is sponsored by TeePublic, as per usual. Your one-stop shop for all things Uncharted Media merch, whether it's t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, whatever you want with the Uncharted Media logo or other fantastic designs or tinfoil hat theory shirt. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or Amazon. And also, subscribe to us on YouTube. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. Now, let's talk about our favorite thing that we always look forward to nowadays in movies, just because it seems like it's been the standard for quite a few years now. Post-credit scenes. But in doing research for this episode, I forgot how long post-credit scenes have been a thing.
Yeah, same.
Also, they actually have to be some point during the credits, like mid-credits or post-credits. It can't be the end of a movie. So Freddy Krueger's hand coming up and snatching Jason's mask at the end of Jason Goes to Hell to set up Freddy vs. Jason does not count, because that happened in the movie proper, not a post-credit scene. I believe I have like 14 or 15. I have plenty.
Hey, this is a reverse of last week. I've got like 10 max.
And here's the thing. I have 2.5, I guess, 3, 4 comic book movies. Like, looking at my list, I was just like,
as well, yeah.
There's some that I really like, but for all of us comic book fans that get hyped for Marvel post-credit scenes, in the grand scheme of things, like sitting back and looking back on them, like seeing like, oh, this is all however many there are. A lot of them kind of suck more than you
Yeah.
think. Like they've got some anticipation when you initially see them, but sitting back on them, a lot of them aren't as exciting as you think. But some of them are deeply personal, and we'll get into those. This is a combination of just like overall best slash favorites, because some of these are blatantly biased favorites here. But let's see, Josh. How do we want to do this? I've got comic book
Um,
movies. I've got video game movies, action movies, and some old school stuff.
yeah, before we get like really rolling, I need a shout out to all the gag reels that Pixar used to do
Oh,
mid
dude.
credits, because technically those don't count for this list, which is
Yeah,
fine.
I was tempted
like,
to, but
Gosh dang, like I remember, like, to me that was the reason you stayed during the credits, because Pixar did gag reels. Now they don't do that
bye-bye.
anymore.
Bye-bye. Okay, has everyone left? Oh, man, I can stop smiling now. My cheeks are killing me.
There's, or like even just like the way that they made the characters feel like actual actors. It was so fun. I genuinely miss that. Like the entire, like all those bits at the end of Monsters Inc. Are so funny. There's so many good ones. I just wanted to get those out of the way before we dive in there. Do you want to go ahead and get the comic book movie ones out of the way?
Sure. But also, as you mentioned that, also honorable mention to a whole bunch of Jackie Chan ones that
Yeah.
what I love is Jackie Chan always shows like the missteps in the stunts that just like show you how many takes it takes. What's the movie where he's sitting like leaning back in his chair and he kicks up a pencil and he catches it or something like that? Like to show
You described literally almost every Jackie Chan movie.
Well, we might need a whole episode about Jackie Chan at some point, but what I love is he always states in interviews, people are just like, oh, man, those stunts are so incredibly difficult. He's like, no, they're not. You could do them. You just need to be patient with it and be willing to do it a whole bunch of times to get it right. He's like, it's not hard. You just have to be willing to do like 100 bad takes.
Okay, he says this
as he like fights with a ladder.
Yeah. Or like the one where he slides down the pole and gets
the
electrocuted all the way down.
Yep.
The one where he's sliding down the side of a building like 100 the side of a building 100 feet up. Yeah, I mean, you're right. That's not difficult, but Jackie, not everybody can do that.
So, okay. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, technically 5. There's 2 that I kind of lump together. We'll do with my first Marvel animated project, first and only Marvel animated project, because people seem to forget that this is a Marvel movie, and it really is Big Hero 6.
Yay!
To which, if you're a Marvel property, you know what that means. If he's not in the movie proper, Stan Lee has to have a cameo somewhere, and it's at the very end credits with Fred, who, you know, this is back when we were allowed to like that actor.
Yeah.
Gosh, now I forget what his name is. It's the same dude from Ready Player One and some other stuff. But this whole time, we're led to believe that Fred has a very rich family that we never really see. But this whole time we see like this like family portrait of him looking like a goof, and you see his like old dad like in a nice like almost Hugh Hefner leisure suit with an ascot, and you're like, looks suspiciously like Stan Lee. That's a fun cameo at least. And at the end, it's actually Stan Lee voicing the character that looks like Stan Lee. He's like, you flip your underwear out inside out just like me too? Huzzah! You get more usage out of that. I'm just like, aside from Teen Titans Go to the movies, this is the most random use of Stan Lee, and I kind of love it so much. Again, we could sing Big Hero 6's praises all the day long, but I love that they're like, yeah, this is still technically a Marvel distributed movie. It's not an MCU movie, but it is based off a Marvel comic series, so it's a Marvel movie. So Stan, get in there. You're getting paid either way. You're contractually obligated to be a voice actor here.
Which is yeah, gosh, I do miss Stan. Like his cameos are going to be the thing that I miss the most about Marvel movies. All right, let's go. I'm going to do the obvious one. In the theaters at the time as a kid, that first Iron Man one, it is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Uh, most of these are going to be like stuff that from like at the time it was really really cool. Having Samuel Jackson come out, and like for me as a kid, I didn't know they announced all this stuff at at the panels. I was not aware. So I so when they were like, yeah, Avengers Initiative, I was like, oh, what? That's awesome. Let's go. Now, if Nathan's making a face, so I think he's about to throw me under the bus here.
Oh no, I'm throwing myself under the bus here. So I do have Iron Man as one of mine, but this is one of those Nathan was stupid type of moments.
Would you put Iron Man 2?
Oh, there was no Iron Man 2. We just went straight to Iron Man 3, just like how there's no 13th floors in hotels. So I had Iron Man on my iPod Classic for many a years. The movie came out in 2008. I discovered that there was an end credits for this movie in 2011.
I'm so proud of you.
So, like, I'd seen the trailers for Avengers coming out next year and everything else. Like, we're all getting hyped up, and everyone's just like, ever since that post-credit scene at the end of the first Iron Man, and I'm just going, wait, what post-credit scene at the end of Iron Man? So I literally pull up my iPod Classic and just go, there was a scene at the end of Iron Man! Like, Dad, don't you know that there's a scene at the end of Iron Man? What's the weird thing is, though, I saw all the other ones. I saw Incredible Hulk in theaters. I saw Thor in theaters. I saw Captain America in theaters. And we stayed for the post-credits on all those. But for some reason, I just didn't think with the first Iron Man. It just never clicked in my head. I was like,
great.
oh, man, that first end credits in Incredible Hulk, when Iron Man shows up, they're like, we're teasing something big. That's back when they were planning on the Hulk being the villain in the Avengers movie. It never dawned on me because I wasn't on social media at the time. I was completely out of the bubble. I was just like, wait, there's something at the end of Iron Man? So when Nick Fury shows up, he's like, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. I'm like, yeah, that's Nick Fury. We've seen him in a couple movies by now. Oh!
Yeah, dude, we know this. What are you talking about? You're late to the party,
it's not surprising when he's already been in the universe for a couple of years at this point. I'm still to this day kicking myself going, oh, you dingus. Like, you stayed for the rest of them. Also, some of them are good. Like, Captain America's ties in perfectly to Avengers with the Tesseract and everything else. Thor's still confuses me to this day. At the end of Thor, we see a little clip from we see Nick Fury with the Tesseract, and Dr. Selvig's there, and she's like, what does this look like, Doctor? Well, let's take a look. And you see Loki next to him reflected in the mirror go, let's take a look. Like, okay, so is Selvig being possessed by Loki? It doesn't go anywhere in Avengers. Like, when Loki shows up, that's when he possesses Selvig. Like, it does. You could tell in the early MCU, it doesn't all connect. Like, Thunderbolt Ross and Iron Man teaming up to potentially take down the Hulk, or Loki mind controlling Selvig before he's even met Selvig, type of thing.
Dude, and here's the thing too, is when I saw that, I popped. I was like, yo, what is going on? That's so cool. Like, I hadn't been watching movies for that long. So I was like, I wasn't, being critical about the thinking on it, but I was like, so is it Loki? To me, I was like, okay, cool. So that is Loki. Okay, that's fun. But I remember popping hard in the theater when I saw that. And honestly, some of the ones that I'm going to talk about, that's kind of the reaction I'm going to go off of. So let's go in.
Oh, my other one that was tied
to at least. I mean, do you want to do one before I drop another one?
Yes. Yeah. So just because with the MCU, I think Iron Man is important, and that's why it was on my list. It's not my favorite, but it is single-handedly probably the most important post-credit scene we will talk about today. I think, honestly, that set the standard for, yes, there had been post-credit scenes before that, but in terms of, like, hooking you for the next movie, really kind of became a staple after Iron Man. Like, yeah, you had, like, He-Man Masters of the Universe doing it with a weird Skeletor resurrection, but, like, this was the first successful movie to tease future things. The other one that I think is important for the MCU, even if it means nothing, is the combination of shawarma, but the introduction of a very purple Thanos, clearly not played by
I
Josh
do have
Brolin
that
yet.
one. Yeah.
The funny thing is, again, Marvel did not have everything mapped out at the beginning. When they're making Avengers, Joss Whedon just asked Kevin Feige, "Hey, can I have a Thanos tease at the end?" And Kevin's just like, "Yeah, sure, I guess. Like, we're not doing anything with Thanos." And Joss Whedon's just like, "All right, here's Thanos." And then they went from there, and every nerd in the world is just going, "Who's that?" I think Google quick. It's Thanos. Hey, it's everyone. It's Thanos. Get excited for Thanos. Like, we all pretended to know who Thanos was. Obviously, we're more in the know now, but can we just, like, give credit to Kevin Feige for that now instead? Like, that was totally Kevin Feige's idea. No one else's whatsoever.
You want to talk about end credits that end up going nowhere and that make no sense, but are really cool in the moment. Age of Ultron's with Thanos, where he puts the glove on, which is super cool.
Is it the fake one or the real one?
That's the one where he's like, I'll do it myself.
No, is that the fake gauntlet or the real gauntlet?
I don't think it doesn't matter. That's never explained in it. So it's like, okay, cool.
No, remember, Hela knocks over the gauntlet because, again, they didn't think things over. So the gauntlet is in Odin's, like, vault or whatever, and everyone's like, "It's the Infinity Gauntlet." And Kevin Feige's like, "No, it's not. No, it's not. We done goofed." What? Oh, was that Age of Ultron? Because
that's Age of Ultron.
What's the?
Because that's
the
end
one
credits
where we
like,
introduce Wanda and Pietro.
That is Captain America and Winter Soldier. I have that one. That one I like.
Really?
I liked a lot at the time. Same thing with the Age of Ultron one, where like start getting hyped for Thanos when he's like, "Fine, I'll do it myself," and he puts it on, and you're like, "Oh, that's so cool!" And then you leave the theater and you're talking about the movie and how terrible it was, and then you're like, "Wait, what does he mean? Fine, I'll do it myself." Has Thanos been behind all of this? And then we finally get to Endgame and Infinity War, and that never comes up ever again.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I have one more MCU one, and also, it's my favorite post-credit scene ever. So keep that in mind. It's not the best, but it's my favorite by a wide margin. It's just in terms of how much joy and glee it brings me. Captain America Civil War's post-credit scene, in which case we see a young, plucky Tom Holland return home from his German expressionist fight. We'll go with that. That's what I'm going to label the airport fight as now. And Aunt May just slabs a stake on his eye. She's just like, "You get beat up pretty good?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, you should see the other guy." I'm like, giant, man. That's funny. But he, like, folded his arm really quick because he was messing with some of the new Spider-Man equipment that Tony gave him. So Aunt May leaves, and he, like, opens it up. And in that moment, before, like, he crosses his arms, something, like, some light flicks on. And in that moment, I just go, that's not what I think it is it? And so he crosses his arms, and when she leaves, the camera slowly pans up to reveal the single most beautiful thing ever seen in the MCU that has yet to return. Unfortunately, it's never once come back into play, and I don't care.
Doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
It does. I don't care. But we pan up, and it's the spider signal, and I lost my mind because, for multitude of reasons, I grew up reading the classic Stan Lee and Steve Ditko run of Spider-Man, along with some of the Ultimate stuff, and they embrace the stupid campiness of that. Of like, yeah, Spider-Man's got a light that emits from his belt. It's weird, but I don't care. I was like, I've always wanted the spider signal in live action form, but I never thought I'd get it. So that kind of was the first hint of, no, Marvel's going to treat Spider-Man different this time around. And despite my tumultuous relationship with how the MCU has handled Spider-Man at times, when it was all said and done at the end of No Way Home, I'm going, gosh dang it, you guys actually did have a plan for this, and you actually did structure the story perfectly. The other reason that I was very emotionally attached to the spider signal is, without delving too much into spoilers for Josh's eventual arrival, there's a Spider-Man ride at Universal, and the beginning of the ride shows the spider signal, and that's like the start of the ride. It's J. Jonah Jameson going, "You see that? The spider signal!" With that Oh, with Spider-Man nearby, trouble can't be far away. And you know what that means? Headlines, national coverage. So don't screw this up. So I always have this memory in my head of the Spider-Man ride is one of my all-time favorite rides, and it's the Spider Signal. It takes me back to my youth. It takes me back to the Spider-Man ride at Universal. Never thought we'd get the Spider Signal. I don't care that it never went anywhere. The Spider Signal is retro Spider-Man, and I've always liked retro Spider-Man. I need it to come back, please, now that he's a street-level villain again and everything's been stripped away from him. Is it the best MCU post-credit scene in terms of relevance? No. Is it the one that made me the most happy? By a long shot. I loved J.K. Simmons returning at the end of Far From Home. That was cool. I had the biggest, dumbest grin because of just how the Spider-Man was treated in Civil War. He was perfect. The post-credit was perfect. And Civil War is, just perfect. Isn't it, Josh?
No. So anyway,
how they treat Spider-Man is perfect.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I will give you that. Yes. There are so many other issues with Civil War, though. Gosh, man. Maybe one day I just need to sit down and break it all down on why I hate that movie. But yeah, today is not that day. I want to get the Captain America Winter Soldier one out of the way before I do my final one too. So at the time, again, some of these have to be within a context because I've learned so much about the movie industry and stuff like that since then. But I obviously, like some people, did not realize that Marvel did not own the mutants and did not own those kinds of characters. So when I saw Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver show up in characters who I know are children of Magneto, I popped. I was like, "Yo, we're doing mutants. We're doing mutants now. All right, cool. That's so cool. I'm so excited. Oh my gosh!"
8 years later, we're still waiting.
Yeah, still waiting. And Quicksilver unfortunately became the biggest waste of a character by no fault of his own. I don't mind that version of Quicksilver. I just think it kind of sucks that they just use him quite literally as a meat shield.
I think it's funny that we were all determined that Aaron Taylor Johnson was going to be the good Quicksilver and that Evan Peters was going to be the crappy Quicksilver just based off the costumes.
Yes.
And then we saw him, we're just like, oh no. Evan Peters is the best speedster ever.
Yeah, absolutely. But seeing that pop me hard. I was super excited about that. But honestly, my favorite Marvel post-credit scene is from Guardians of the Galaxy with Howard the Duck.
Oh,
I love it. I love it so much. I like just the idea that Howard the Duck is in the universe somewhere is so great. I would be surprised if he doesn't show up in some capacity in Volume 3. I just because you're telling me we get Cosmic the space dog in Cosmo. And yeah, sorry. And you're not going to bring Howard the Duck in ever? Okay, sure, whatever. But I remember watching Howard the Duck as a teenager with a group of teenagers and being collectively horrified.
Yeah.
So seeing him in a quote unquote live action scene was hilarious, and I love that so much. But yeah, thankfully that is the end of our Marvel ones.
And I only have one more comic book one, actually.
There you go. And technically, I only have, I guess, technically a comic book one.
This is the definition of don't catch your chickens before they hatch. They definitely put the cart before the horse, and Josh knows where I'm going with this. For the sheer level of joy that this post-credit scene brought me, it's absolutely on the list. In terms of going nowhere, if anything, it makes me more mad because without it, you wouldn't have got my hopes up for something. And that is the post-credits for Black Adam. The whole reason people actually went to see this movie. They didn't go to see Black Adam. They all went to see because he more or less leaked the post-credit scene before the movie came out. And as much as I like Henry Cavill's Superman, I think the box office results for Black Adam show that it was the correct move to reboot. Because people love Henry Cavill. But sucks to say, but clearly it shows that they didn't care that much enough with his iteration of the character. That being said, God, I wish I didn't have social media sometimes to fully actually embrace that surprise, because like everyone knew going into that movie more or less, except for my dad who doesn't have social media, but like he kind of could sense that something was off as soon as like Black Adam like broke the drone or whatever that Waller sends, and you just see some cape goes in. He's just like, they're not going to, are they? Because like him, like me, we saw Shazam and we're just like, they're just gonna have the headless thing. Because that the way that they did it was actually pretty clever. Of he comes into frame with his head in shadow, so you're just like, oh, they're gonna chop his head off again. But then they do the John Williams, dur 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 dur, and I've seen some people complain that they're just like, why did they go with the nostalgia and go with that instead of the Hans Zimmer? I interpreted that as the Hans Zimmer is the Man of Steel / I'm not the fully realized version of this character yet, but now. My yellow is brighter. I actually have color in my face. I have the spit curl. He just looked perfect. He is the Superman. And also, for the general audience, they are still more familiar with the dun 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 than the Man of Steel music. I love both equally, but I think there's still more of that general familiarity with the classic Superman music. That being said, James Gunn is not sticking with that. I'm very curious to see what music they go with. Yeah, it was a great post-credit scene that went nowhere through Dwayne's own fault, and I wish him nothing but harm.
That's fair.
He sabotaged 2 movies. That's impressive.
My last comic book ish one it's a twofer. I love a good twofer. But Deadpool is the movie that, like, of all movies would just, rip off from other movies, but it's still hilarious. And that, of course, I'm talking about of the It's Over, Go Home in the Ferris Bueller Days Off / Deadpool post-credit scene. For those that don't know, in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, at the end of the credits, he comes out in a bathrobe and goes, what are you still doing here? It's over. Go home. And so, of course, naturally, Deadpool does the same thing. Because why not? So it's great. I did enjoy it because for Deadpool especially, it like solidifies the like this is just a movie for him, and we're just here to enjoy it.
Funny you mentioned that because I have Ferris Bueller's Day Off on my list. Because again, we've got a couple old school ones. Like Marvel did not invent the post credit scene; they just I think popularized it. More or less. Like. We got quite a few older movies on the list today. But yeah, Ferris Bueller's has that great Matthew Broderick coming out in a robe. Why are you here? The movie's over. Go home. Like, yeah, Deadpool did it, and it was a funny parody. But let's fully acknowledge the original version as well.
Fair enough.
I think Ferris Bueller is fine. It's definitely a movie of its time that I don't know if it holds up as well as people.
Oh, it does not. I've watched it recently. It does not hold up.
It's fine, but it was never one of my favorites. It's one of those of like, it's gonna sound horrible, but it's kind of like the Goonies of like, if you didn't grow up watching it, I don't know if you'll have the same level of nostalgia for it. Like I'm just not the biggest fan of the Goonies, but I know a good chunk of people that are. Ferris Bueller's is just.
Movie's over. Go home.
That's pretty clever for a time that they didn't really do it. So I'll go with some of my other old school ones here. Ferris Bueller's was not the first comedy to put one last joke at the very, very end.
True.
There is one movie in particular known as the greatest dad comedy of all time, Airplane. Did you not?
I was holding on to this one. I love this joke so much. You'll see this is a theme. Like, I love movies that like will just insert a joke that goes nowhere in the beginning of the movie, and then at the end of the credits, we bring it back. Yes, the Airplane post-credit scene is chef's kiss, so good because you forget about it. You forget about
what
the
happens.
setup. So at the beginning of the film, after the entire loading and unloading zone joke. Our main character, who's driving a taxi to make money, pulls up to the airport, and somebody hops in, and he goes, "Okay, I'll take you, but I got to like an errand first," and then starts the ticker, starts the count, and then runs into the airport. To which the guy's like, "Wait, what?" And then we don't do it. We never see him again until the post credit, when the credits are done rolling, and then it just kind of it goes back to the taxi, and he's still sitting there, and the counter's still going.
I'll give him 20 more minutes. Like,
oh, it's so good.
we said Ferris Bueller's doesn't hold up as well as people remember. Airplane holds up. I love bad puns so much. What do you make of this? I can make a hat. I can make it a brooch. I can make it a boat.
I chose the wrong day to quit smoking glue.
Sniffing glue.
Sniffing glue.
I've got a drinking problem. Huh? It's.
Oh my gosh!
If there's anything that doesn't hold up, it's the old woman speaking jive and the random boobs that appear for no apparent reason.
Fair. But the jive thing still gets me, because it's like, there really was a time in when white people thought that like black people only talked in jive, and it's so funny to me that I think the only reason it's still funny to me is that it's the Brady Bunch mom that's doing it, and
it's like if Betty White did it. Actually, if Betty White did it, I'd believe it.
Oh yeah, the amount of times every time he tells his story, it always ends. The section of the story always ends with the person that he's telling the story to like offs themselves. So funny. Shirley, there's something you could do. There's nothing I could do, and don't call me Shirley. Like, oh my gosh, it's
the
so
Shirley
good.
thing is still a recurring joke in my family. You cannot say that word without that eliciting various responses.
Oh my gosh. She's like teaching how to use Tupperware to like this tribe in like the middle of nowhere. And these Tupperware will help with the monsoon months to keep food fresh. Oh my gosh.
So looking at this, the rest of them are kind of newer movies. My other old school movie is also the one that I've got a mini rant for. I put this on this list because I know a lot of people put this in their best of. I put this whole movie in my I have very conflicted feelings, but I especially hate the finale for this movie. Before he did Harry Potter, which we might talk about in a little bit here, Christopher Columbus, the guy that did Home Alone, did a movie called Young Sherlock Holmes. And I'm very conflicted about this movie. So for those that don't know, Young Sherlock Holmes is a story about a young Sherlock Holmes at a boarding school, and John Watson appears one day. They go to school together for a little bit. Just like, but as a Sherlock Holmes fan, this breaks all forms of canon whatsoever, to the point of the movie at the beginning and at the end have a disclaimer saying this is just a glorified fan fiction. Do not count this as an adaptation, or else we will get in trouble. So, like, it's actually in the movie. I'm just going, good, because you're blasphemous. It just, some parts of it work, but also, like, it is Temple of Doom levels of scary and effed up. Like, you expect for a kid Sherlock Holmes, they're just like, someone's stealing something from the pantry or laundering money from the school. No, there's a cult that sacrifices students in the basement of the building by burning them alive with scalding hot wax or water, like boiling hot water, and we see someone be burned alive while like the person sacrificing them is wearing a giant Anubis head. I'm just going, PG, okay. But
ratings really didn't matter back in the day, man.
Everything's made up and the points don't matter. But basically, Sherlock and Watson are like friends or whatever, but they have a teacher that Sherlock looks up to. It's his good friend and whatnot. But we find out that he's the cult leader. I'm going, okay, whatever. And so after a fight, Sherlock Holmes, teenager Sherlock Holmes, beats this full-grown, like 40-something adult and like throws him in the water or something to his death. Well, the post-credit scene is the same guy kind of pulling a Hugh Jackman and The Prestige and showing up to a random hotel in Colorado and signing the guest book. As you guessed it, Professor James Moriarty, to which the first
Yay!
time I saw that, I'm pretty sure I raged and left the room. And my parents were just so confused. They're just like, what? I'm just like, no, that is not how Moriarty is portrayed. He's more or less around the same age. Yes, he's a professor, but Sherlock and Moriarty barely have that much history. This whole thing ruins the Sherlock Holmes canon. It makes no sense. It's worse than Tumblr fan fiction. Christopher Columbus, you're better than this. Do better than this. I hate this movie so much. It's as a movie, it's fine, but as a Sherlock Holmes movie, it is hot garbage. And the fact that they didn't set him up to be Moriarty whatsoever, they're just like, he's got an actual name, he's got an actual story, but shoehorning the Moriarty connection at the very, very end felt so cynical. I'm just like, God, this is just, you have to do this, don't you? You just have to force this together, even though it makes no sense. And it still, to this day, bothers me. My mom is like, oh yeah, I like that movie. I'm going, I hate it so much.
I've never seen it.
I think you'll enjoy it more than me, but you'll be like, yeah, this is dark.
No.
This is dark.
Just the sheer fact that that it's just like a kind of a fan affection for Sherlock, I'd hate it. I hate
it's
it
like
so
a pup
much.
named Scooby-Doo almost. Of, you want to see him when they're in junior high?
Yeah, no, I don't. I really don't. No. What? No.
So, now that I think about it, now that we're on the topic, another Chris Columbus directed movie is one that I like considerably more than this. That Josh may forget is actually a thing that we can talk about. Harry Potter. And Josh is going, what? Harry Potter has a post-credit scene?
Yeah, I don't remember her post-credit scenes.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets sure as heck does.
What?
Josh hasn't seen this scene. Yes.
Okay. To be fair, I probably have, but like I have concussion brain. I don't remember.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is the only Harry Potter with a post-credit scene, because I'm not counting the epilogue at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2. So at the end credits of Chamber of Secrets, we pan down to Diagon Alley again, and there's a sign for a book signing, and it's a moving picture of Gilderoy Lockhart that says, "Who am I?"
Oh, yeah.
Because Gilderoy Lockhart got obliviated, so he
Yeah.
doesn't remember who he is. So just this little sign with an uber-confused Kenneth Branagh going, "Who am I?" You're Jean Valjean. That's some other fantasy movie. But even as a kid, I'm going, all right, that's clever. It's just weird that there's only one Harry Potter that has a post-credit scene.
Yeah.
But it's got such a good joke that Kenneth Branagh could poke fun at himself that they put this scene in. Because it's not, well, we do see Gilderoy Lockhart again in the books. Don't we see him like for a brief second in like the 5th or 6th book when they go to the hospital when Arthur Weasley gets attacked or something, and he's still kind of an idiot that doesn't remember anything?
Yeah.
But the fact that we like circle back to it, I think is just chef's kiss. I'm like, just because he's such an insufferable character, just kick him while he's down even more. I just kind of love it.
Yeah, and I love that. To me, that's a great joke, and also that kind of confirmed to me as like as an audience member that we're never going to see him again, and I was really happy about that. I was like, thank goodness, because I cannot stand this guy.
Not as bad as Umbridge.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
at
got
least Umbridge
7
is
more.
evil.
How many more you got?
I've got like 5.
Okay, I'll knock out a couple more. I'll knock out my 2 video game ones. Uncharted's post-credit scene is better than its entire movie. Because Uncharted's post-credit scene actually felt like they watched the game before they made it. Like, okay, here's another mini rant here. I swear, whoever directed the Uncharted post-credit scene is different than whoever directed the rest of the movie, because the level of detail in the post-credit scene is simply astonishing. So essentially what it is Nathan Drake wearing his Francis Drake ring. He's talking to some criminal or whatever, trying to get some information potentially about the same gold that's in the very first Uncharted game. It's never fully stated, but it's implied. Also, Eddie Raja might be there because we see a gold gun, but it's never confirmed. But they look like they're in the exact same restaurant that Nate and Sully first talked to each other in flashback scenes in Uncharted 3. The location is spot on, right down to the posters on the wall are identical. Nate's wardrobe, is exactly the same as it is in the game. Sully's wardrobe of the green Hawaiian shirt with the stripes down the center, that's exactly the same as it is in that scene. The mustache, something happened. I don't know what, but something happened with the mustache because I remember Mark Wahlberg sharing on Instagram, don't ask, don't effing ask. And he's wearing this big, huge, thick mustache. But in the movie, it's like a thin Walt Disney mustache. So I don't know what happened there. But that scene has the spirit and the energy of the original games with having an insane level of detail that follows the game. And then they make their escape, getting the information that they need, stealing something. And then as they leave, they get a gun in their face, like a gold gun. And then they just cut to black. So it's meant to potentially be Eddie Raja for the first game. And then, in one of only 3 times in the entire movie, still pissed about this, they play the classic Uncharted music as the credits roll. I'm like, what? This is not the time to play it. They play the Uncharted theme. One, when Nolan North makes a quick cameo, they do like a flute version, that was fun. And when Nathan Drake puts on the gun straps, and then they cut that super quick. They only make it last for like 30 seconds, and it still bothers me to this day. It also bothers me tremendously that the Uncharted theme from the games is nowhere on the film's soundtrack at all. Like, no, not in any of the tracks, not even for a little second. They go out of their way to not have it in there. It's not a bad movie, but it's not what it could have been. But the post-credit scene, for some reason, does that weird trend of movies that put half effort in, and there's like, no, we're going to put full effort into the sequel. They put all their eggs in the post-credit scene basket. They're like, next time, we'll be loyal. That's assuming you get it next time. Yeah, the movie's fine. But the post-credit scene, for some reason, actually has great attention to detail and feels like an Uncharted movie. It's just what we wanted the whole time. The other one is a movie that I know Josh has seen. And we all kind of saw this coming a mile away, but it still made me happy, and especially made Heather happy because besides Yoshi, it's probably her favorite video game character ever, and that is the arrival of Tails at the end of the Sonic movie. When Tails showed up, just not only that, but voiced by the original voice actress, you're just going, perfect. It's Tails. We didn't get Idris Elba's Knuckles casting yet. Which, speaking of that, they're filming the Knuckles TV series now, and it's super, super exciting. But Tails showing up, y'all, it's magical. Tails is great. Love Tails so much. And having them show up, I was like, yes. And without saying too much, Mario also kind of follows the same trajectory of, here's a fan favorite character. But I think Sonic does it a little better because it wasn't previously set up earlier.
Yeah, because I think Sonic is that one is Sonic 1 is on my list as well. It definitely do a good job of making you as an audience member feel like you're not sure if they're going to go all the way over into that realm, or if they're going to try to keep it like reality-ish. So when Tails shows up, it's a big deal, which segues me great into the second one because dude, Sonic 2 might be depending on what the next movie is like. Right now is the best Sonic movie ever made. It is so good.
There's so 2 of them.
Don't care. Both of them are super good. This first one is better than it has any right to be, especially of all the craziness that leads up to it. But in the second movie, at the end of the trailer, we get this, I forget who's all the conversation about, but they're talking, they find some like evidence of, they're like, hey, isn't this like some weird military project that they had kept secret for so long, blah, blah, blah. And while they're talking, they do a pan up of Shadow in a tube. And I when I tell you, I didn't think we were going to get a third one. I didn't think let alone get a second movie, but I certainly didn't think we were going to get a third one, especially when they went so hard in the second. But you're telling me we're going to have a non-Eggman controlled Shadow in the third movie? All right, yeah, I'm here for it. Let's go. Absolutely, let's go. I'm so stoked.
I was happy. That was one of those of just like, there's a couple times that I was just like, maybe it's predictable to do this end credits, but I don't
Mhm.
care. And that was one of those I was like, they really need
Yeah.
to do Shadow in the end credits. And when they do, it's like, yeah. One, I like being right, and two, I like when they just do the obvious pick. It's not hard to make us happy. Just give us
Yeah.
what we want, movie studios. We're not that demanding.
And he looks so good too, is the
Oh
thing.
yeah.
I was like, oh, because it would have been easy to just make it like a Sonic model and then paint it black and white. Like it would have been black and white and some accents of red. It would have been so easy, but the fact that they don't go, they do make him his own kind of like model, character model. Gosh, I'm so excited to see how it looks when he's keeping up with Sonic with his jet shoes. Oh,
He's
it's gonna
got to
be
go
so cool.
fast.
I'm so excited about it.
So I got 5 more.
Okay, hit me with 2 more.
Almost all of them are action except for this one. This is a dramedy, more or less. The Disaster Artist.
Dramedy.
Have you never heard that?
No, I don't think I have. That's great.
Okay, people at home, you know what a dramedy is, right? Like you've heard, that's a common phrase.
We're not gonna make this sound like I'm stupid, okay? No.
You did
I
that.
mean,
You have done that yourself.
Just because I am doesn't mean you can say it. Come on.
No, the dramedy that is The Disaster Artist, which is the making of The Room, essentially. And, it's weird that the making of the movie is better than the movie itself and almost won some Academy Awards. It's just a really good movie. But this is another one of those post-credit scenes that I didn't realize when I first saw it in theaters that there was a post-credit scene until much, much later. So there's a scene where James Franco, who's been playing Tommy Wiseau the entire movie, and honestly, doing a really good Tommy Wiseau, but never being like over the top with it. He sounds like Tommy Wiseau, but never going into cartoonish territory, even though Tommy Wiseau sounds like a cartoon character.
He's a cartoon. He's an absolute cartoon.
But he's from New Orleans. Like, it's just...
No, he's not. There's no way.
He is an alien. That man is an alien that was sent to observe the human race and make a movie about them, and failed miserably. But in doing so, created a disaster piece that we all still love to this day. But the post-credit scene, James Franco as Tommy Wiseau is just chilling at this party when this weird dude in like a Three Musketeers mustache just shows up. He's just like, "Why are you by yourself? You want to come back to my apartment?" It's like, "No, I don't. I don't want to hang out with you. Leave me alone. Why are you by yourself? You need a drink?" And it's Tommy Wiseau, sure enough, talking to Tommy Wiseau. And in this moment, you realize how good James Franco's Tommy Wiseau is, because like they're identical. I'm just like, "Oh, why are you so lonely? Why are you by yourself?" I'm not lonely. I just want leave people alone. I don't want to go with you. I don't know you. And it's just so bizarre because Tommy Wiseau is just bizarre, people. Like, if you're not familiar at all with The Room, it's a disaster piece, and it's not for everyone. But honestly, just look up how they made this movie, because it is so bizarre. If you've never seen a movie before, you could pick up a phone, pick up a camera, and still make a more competent movie than The Room. Because, you could decide if you wanted to use film or digital cameras and not use them both simultaneously at the exact same time. And the cinematographer's going, "Why are you doing it?" "Because no one's ever done it before, so I want to be the first." You ever think that maybe there's a reason people haven't done this before? Also, supposedly we were getting a 4K remaster of The Room at one point. I'm going, okay, it's weird. I don't think it needs it, but I'll still buy it because I'm a shill. And Tommy Wiseau comes out and goes, "Yeah, we're going to take the digital copies of it and turn it into 4K. I'm going, "But you shot it on film as well as digital." Just a theory here, Tommy. 2002 film cameras are going to be a lot better than 2002 digital cameras. Your little DV tapes in 2002. I'm pretty sure film will convert better, but you do you, man. It's a funny cameo that I'm just going, you had to do this, because I'm pretty sure Tommy Wiseau forced himself to be in this movie at some point, because
Oh yeah.
the man's insane. Also, because I don't think Josh has this one, and because it's been at least 5 episodes since we last talked about this movie, Power Rangers 2017.
Yeah. It's not on my list.
Okay,
it's not
good.
On
It's
my
not
list.
on your list. As someone that did not grow up watching the original Power Rangers, I didn't think I would care that much about this new movie. newish movie. It's been 6 years now. Time, you suck.
Jeez.
It's been 6 years since it came out, and I love it. And we still need to give more props to the casting director for that movie because God, that movie's casted so well. But the post credit is we more or less check back in with our Breakfast Club friends of an empty detention room, and there's a green jacket on a chair. Tommy Oliver? Tommy? As we slowly zoom in on this green jacket, and then it cuts to black. We never found out who was going to be our
Probably will
Tommy.
never ever find out.
There was rumors that they were going to gender bend Tommy and make it a girl this time around. I'm going, I'm not emotionally attached to this character. So you do whatever. And I saw all these people be mad. I'm like, you can't do that to Tommy. I'm going, y'all, this is a franchise where someone wearing a helmet blows a flute. Let's not worry about semantics here.
Hold on. No. You got to go all the way with it. The man is wearing a helmet that has a mouth on it, but does not act as a mouth, who blows a flute that is not just a flute, but also a dagger.
Yup.
To then call his giant, he has a technological suit, but he uses a flute to call his giant dragon robot that he then jumps on top of and then goes in. There's absolutely no way that there could have been an easier way for that to happen. It's insane.
Or you could just see it. The Power Ranger suits are bulletproof and put a Glock in them.
I'm just imagining the sequence where they're like, Power Rangers, form of a pterodactyl, pam pam.
I'm picturing that as like a Key and Peele sketch of
I feel like it is.
Key and Peele could be like it's not Zoltar, who's a Lord Zed. One of them could be Lord Zed and one of them could be Rita Repulsa, and the Power Rangers are doing this like 5-minute load up and they're just like, these morons. Boom. And just blast. Like, why did we do that 5 seasons ago? I don't know, man.
It is hilarious that like every single way that, like, just a little, Mighty Morphin Power Ranger tangent here. It's so funny to me that Rita Repulsa and Lord Zed, all of the ways that they come up with to get rid of the Power Rangers are always the most convoluted ways that do not work and will never work. It's what a show. I love that. I am such a Power Ranger guy. It's hilarious. I was not allowed to watch them growing up, but didn't stop me from getting it from the library. Anyway.
All right, I got 3 more. How many more you got?
Let's go. 3. Here we go. Home stretch. All right. I know that I'm a little iffy on it, but I know that you did not enjoy Monsters University. However, I love me a good payoff joke. I love that at the beginning of the movie, they're all going to classes, and there's this snail monster that's like, I'm gonna make it to class. I gotta make it to class. Then at the end of the credits, they cut to him finally getting to class, and the janitor's in there cleaning. He's like, "What are you doing here? Everyone's gone for the summer." The snail's like, "No!" I love it. It is one of the jokes that happen in Monsters University. It is one of my favorite jokes. I when it comes to Monsters University, I am one of those people that I enjoyed it. It's definitely not as good as Monsters Inc., but I at least had a good time with it. But the snail joke is chef's kiss. So good.
You bring up a Disney movie, I'll bring up a Disney movie.
Okay.
And it's the only post-credit scene that I can think of the ones that we talked about today, that kind of, you must watch it in order to understand certain story elements for future events, because they're never addressed again, like, blatantly. You have to actually see this post-credit scene. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And the cursed monkey. The monkey stealing the gold and becoming cursed again happens in a post-credit scene, but from every Pirates on after the first one, we see the monkey is back being a skeleton. And if you didn't see that post-credit scene, you would be super confused why this monkey is suddenly invincible and running around with eyeballs, but invincible. Like,
look, undead monkey. Boo.
Like, it's this running joke, but they only ever called attention to it in the post-credit scene. So if you skip the post-credit scene for that first one, you're watching 2, 3, and 4 going, wait, why is the monkey cursed but no one else? But also, is the monkey part of the crew, and is the whole crew cursed again? Like, and don't overthink it, guys. I know it's supposed to be a joke, but don't overthink it, because as a kid, my brain's just going, well, then the treasure is not what a treasure was before. It's not complete. It's not whole. Someone took from the treasure, so the pirate should be cursed again because of the monkey's actions. Pirates of the Caribbean 2, Monkey's Island. It was an important scene.
It was.
But the fact that they just kind of slapped it at the end and then expected everyone to be caught up with it going forward, I'm going, this kind of a big thing for this one individual character.
It is. And crazy enough, it's not the worst decision the Pirates franchise has ever made. Yeah. So this is a technicality. It is not. It is. Yes, it is Deary. It's like a mid credits, but it extends all the way through the end of the credits as well. And I guess this doesn't count. Actually, the more I think about it, I was gonna bring up the whole. Every single bit they did at the end of 22 Jump Street.
I was thinking about that, but yeah, I wouldn't consider that one.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think it counts. It's hilarious. Don't get me wrong. Also confirms that they're never going to make another one. But
they were supposed to cross over with them Men in Black.
Yeah, which is wild to think of that.
Men in Black needed them a lot more than they needed them.
Yes,
than they needed Men in Black.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that doesn't count. So I guess I'm.
So, my last two could be lumped together because they both either were part of a crossover or teased a crossover. One that was actually in a crossover that did actually result in direct action for the sequel, even if we all collectively try and forget the sequel because we couldn't see anything. The post-credits for Alien vs. Predator. I will still die on the hill. I will die on this horse. That Alien vs. Predator is not that bad. People make it out. It's just like, it's the worst. It's not that good. Like, both Alien and Predator have far worse installments in their franchise than Alien vs. Predator. Like, it's PG-13. They still get away with quite a bit by just changing the color of the blood. You get that great xenomorph decapitation. Oh, it's so cool. And great nonverbal communication between the main girl and the Predator at that one point. That was pretty cool. But for those that don't know, mid-2000s, this scene was hype. It was everywhere. So a Predator dies at the hands of a xenomorph, and at the end, he's laying, I don't know why the Predators decided to take him back to the homeworld, but he's laying on a table, and all of a sudden, a little xenomorph pops out, a little chest burster pops out from his stomach, and it's going to create the Predalien. And we're going, oh, that's such a cool option. And maybe someday we'll see a Predalien on the big screen. Because you couldn't see him in Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Because holy crap, that movie is dark. Not in terms of subject matter. In terms of, like, the gamma on that needs to be, like, 1. Need to turn up the brightness all the way. And then some. Watch it in the pitch black of night. Because you can't see anything in this movie. Action scenes are wasted because you can't see anything. Everything's too low lit. Not a great movie. I like Alien vs. Predator. And it has a great tease to set up. Okay, what if the Alien and Predator merged into one? Is it a little fan fiction? Oh, absolutely, but I don't care. Just wish it paid off a little better.
Alien versus Predator is fan fiction regardless. You're like, hey guys, let's take these two franchises that really don't have any relation whatsoever and I'll throw them together.
No. Fan fiction was Alien versus Predator versus Ash from The Evil Dead. Ash from The Evil Dead has crossed over with so many people, whether it makes sense or not. Like, and also, just honorable mention to Ash's quick cameo at the end of the Evil Dead remake. All he says is groovy. Like, okay, you exist in this world too. You could have helped out. Like, whatever. Yeah. My last one is not a crossover movie, but it set up a crossover movie. Also, it made me happy because it just proved that I was right about some things. When we were in college, I definitely remember predicting this is the trajectory that they're gonna go with for the MonsterVerse. You're gonna get Godzilla, then you're gonna get Kong Skull Island, then gonna get Ghidorah in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then you're gonna have Godzilla versus Kong teaming up against Mechagodzilla. It's exactly what happened. But by and large, to me, the best post-credit scene, even though we all knew it was coming, is at the end of Kong Skull Island, when the survivors of the island are all being debriefed by Monarch, and they're going, there's these things called Titans, and they've existed for thousands upon thousands of years. And then you see the Ghidorah with the 3 heads, and then the last picture, you see a Kong sketch fighting a sketch of a Godzilla, as you just hear the Godzilla roars, cuts to black, and even me, who is the most casual of casual Godzilla fans, I'm going, okay, that thing I'm feeling, that's called hype. Now bring back Ken Watanabe back from the dead and let him say, let them fight again, because Godzilla vs. Kong was a lot of fun. Now, I'm sure it was even, that scene gets you more amped if you're a fan of the franchise, but even as a casual, I'm going, that alone, hearing Godzilla roar, gets me hyped for this movie, and I'm glad it actually delivered.
And, as me, who's the ultra casual fan, was like, that's something that can happen? Oh my God, let's go.
Josh discovering rights is always a funny thing.
Yeah, that's always fun. My last one is probably the most left field I think will ever be. And to be fair, I thought this scene was was the end of the movie. It's not. It's at the end of the credits. So the crazy stuff, the crazy things that happen in Napoleon Dynamite, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of very memorable moments. Oddly enough, the end credit scene, Kip's wedding, is like one of the most memorable moments in the movie. For those of you that don't know, there's a running gag in the movie in Napoleon Dynamite that Kip has met someone through the internet. He's been chatting online with babes all day. He's just jealous. But we never really get to meet her or anything like that until the end credit scene. And he sings her a song, and there's a whole wedding.
I love technology,
but not as much as USC. Gosh, it's so good. It is easily it's one of literally when I was trying to get the list together, and I was ran a blank, and I was like, and that came up on like a Watch Mojo video, and I was like, there's no, that's like the end of the movie. That's not at the end of the credits. And then I had to do some research. But yeah, one of the most, at least for me, memorable scenes in the movie, outside of the scene where the farmer shoots the cow in the face in front of a bus full of kids, which is easily one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. It is Kip's wedding. It's so weird. It's such a left field pull, but I'm glad I saved it for the end.
The post credits for that just fits the rest of the movie.
Yes.
We'll go with that. I'm not the biggest fan of Napoleon Dynamite, but I think that's because I had hype going into it. Just everyone keeps saying it's the most funny thing in the world. I think for Napoleon Dynamite, you can't have expectations going into it.
Have no
you
expectations.
Just watch it and roll with it, which is weird because the same director did Nacho Libre, which I freaking love, and it has more or less the same humor, but I think it works better for Nacho Libre. Although both Nacho Libre and Napoleon Dynamite have this weird thing of they're super chill, almost like G-level humor, nothing super inappropriate,
yes.
And then they'll do one joke that's uber dark, like Napoleon Dynamite skewering a man in the eye with corn. I'm going,
yes. Or literally them like I said, my favorite scene. Oh man, darn thing won't shoot. Boom! Right in front of a bus full of kids. Oh man, it's so funny. I love that. I would rewatch that movie for that scene alone.
Well, what do you guys think? What are your all-time favorite post-credit scenes, whether it's mid-credits or end credits? Let us know down in the comments below, as I came from you guys. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us whenever podcast you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube at Uncharted Media, down in the link in the description. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.
Podcast.
You suck.